That's funny. But no, like what I was saying was that it's like you had brought up that maybe people see what you're saying, but they don't see it as a problem.
I mean, so what do you think that it could be?
What do I think that it could be? I think that throughout the years since Black Americans were freed from slavery, over the years I feel as though we didn't do it perfect. I feel like thing decisions that we made as a community were not free of mistakes. I think that there were some mistakes that we made.
I don't think that it's on purpose per se. I think that a lot of people are just confused.
Yeah, I really think that's what it is. But like, yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that we didn't do it perfect post slavery. I feel like we made some decisions that weren't really the best for us in the long run. Like, okay, like for instance, what it is that we say is in our culture to eat, some of the types of foods that we make. Some of that food was straight up survival food. It was what was available, and then like
Right.
how we cook it and how we season it is like, bro, we're killing ourselves holding on to that. That's not culture. That's is that no, and that's the thing that like really boggles me about like Black people in America are actually in a really special place because technically we don't have a culture. We don't really know where we come from to cling to any specific culture because there's more than one culture in Africa. We don't really know which one we hail from really. So we're actually in a very special position. We actually have control over our tradition. What it is that we decide to lock in and it's like this is us.
But I mean, all right. So why would you say that what we have going on right now isn't culture? Isn't a culture?
When people say that it's like it's their culture, it comes from long-standing tradition. We don't necessarily have long-standing tradition. Our beginning is when the slaves were freed. What was that? 1865? We don't have long-standing tradition because we were cut from where we were from.
What constitutes long standing? I mean, that's you said 1865, so that's less than 200 years.
And then and that's the thing when it comes to culture, when people are trying to say it's like, oh, this is our culture, this is our culture, it's like they're trying to lock those things in and make them tradition, but you have to start paying attention to the things that we're locking in. We're making some really bad mistakes. We're making some critical mistakes. It's like, since when is it culture to shake ass?
Okay.
Oh, no, but that's not really what I was getting at. It's like you had said that like people might see it, but they don't register it as a mistake. It's like we made some mistakes. We didn't do it perfect. One of the
That's understandable. Like it was, you know what I'm saying? It was the first time. Like I guess there was people in the world's history that had to go for their like go on their own in another person's land that prejudice against you. I'm not saying that we are the first ones, but
oh, we're far from the first.
there's no manual to that shit, and the circumstances will always be different.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
So all I'm saying is mistakes. I mean, mistakes are understandable.
see, but it's about registering the mistake and being able to correct the mistake. But one of the biggest mistakes that we made was thinking that it was our self-image that was destroying us. Because their solution to poor self-image was that you teach black people to be proud. But what you ended up doing was that you took the already messed up actions we were doing, all of that trauma behavior, and you sprinkled pride on top of it, which means they started becoming proud of their trauma behavior. And once you're proud about it, you start to cling to it even harder. And then it becomes part of your culture. My question is, how much of Black American culture is just trauma behavior in disguise?
Oh,
Right.
I don't want to knock a black man for being proud of being a black man.
But I will knock a black man for his actions as a black man. You should be proud of your actions, not your skin color. I thought it was irrelevant. Why are we acting backwards?
Cause that's all we fucking know, bro.
You didn't want to be judged for the color of your own skin, but then you turn around and make it the focal point of your existence? That's backwards. You want to say Black Lives Matter, but black people are responsible for, right now, 50% of all violent crimes. Do you know why it's 50% of all violent crimes?
Oh.
Because the reason why we are responsible for 50% of all violent crimes, even though the majority of school shooters are Caucasian, the majority of serial killers are Caucasian, the reason why black people are responsible for 50% of all violent crimes is because the tales of the hood, the tales from the hood, are still being counted in the statistic. We're boosting our own numbers from destroying ourselves. Where's the pride in that? How do Black Lives Matter like that? It's like our statistics look trash because we're killing ourselves, and you're yelling Black Lives Matter? That's backwards.
Well, I just say that it's way easier said than done to just take race out of the equation, because it was made about that shit since we got over here.
Yeah, and that's the crazy part, because
Even though it should have never been about that.
Yeah, that, like I said, it's like it's more mistakes. We keep acting like humans keep acting like they're Mother Nature. Mother Nature doesn't go backwards in her design. If life truly started in water and eventually walked up on land, that means that the eyes that we were using to see underwater came with us, and she didn't correct it. She only went forward. We keep acting like we're Mother Nature on some dumb shit, where you make a claim and people try it out for a period, then you realize, well, maybe we made a mistake. But you don't go backwards, you keep going forward for some dumb reason. I think that might come from, I don't want to say that it's from any like system. I think it just comes from people trying to live regular life. Like the point of view of someone that was born in the 1990s to the point of view of somebody that was born in 2015. Like my first video game was Super Mario 64. Those are like my first video game was Super Mario 64, 3D platformer. Now imagine what is a child's first video game in 2015. That's gonna be a major difference, right? Their first video game could have been Destiny 2. That's a big difference, right?
Well, a difference in what? Like the kind of game
the experience, the point of view is like I started off with the polygons, and it was still, it was still clunky. It wasn't super smooth. It wasn't as polished as the games are today. They kept trying to push and kept trying to make it better, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we pick up on in early age, you pick up that precedent. It's like whatever is going on now is like people keep trying to push and progress. So I'll give you one situation where we shouldn't have did that. All right.
Oh my.
No. I'm gonna give you one example right quick about a situation where we shouldn't have done that. It was cool to go from the N64 to the GameCube to the Wii and on and so on, right? I'm gonna give you one situation. Women's pants.
Women's pants?
Yes. Back when we were growing up in the 90s, going into the early 2000s, when it came to women's pants or girls in school, this, that, and the third, it's like you had to keep your legs covered up to at least the knee, and then time kept progressing. And eventually it became, fine. It at least has to be, it can't be any more than an inch above the knee. Time kept progressing. They kept pushing. It's like, look, hey, how far are you trying to update this? He's like, okay, it can't be any more than 3 to 5 inches above the knee. They kept pushing. He's like, yo, what's going on here? He's like, look, hey, at least keep your butt covered. Like, it got to the point where, like, the short shorts, the coochie cutters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's
Now,
like, huh?
it's at an all time low now.
It's at an all time low now. It's like you can just be walking outside with your butt out. It's like,
Yeah.
can you at least keep half your butt cheek covered? No.
They got bitches walking around in G strings like it's an outfit.
And that's my point. It's like it's that precedent. It's some stuff should not be applied across the board. Not everything needs to be brand new and find out what the next thing is. It's not yes and it's not okay. You made it now. What all the time? Sometimes sometimes it's like you're supposed to debrief. Sometimes you're just supposed to stop at a certain point. That was just one example. But it's like, but we act like it seems like we try to emulate Mother Nature, where it's like, nah, we just have to keep going forward. We can't go back. It's like, but you made a mistake, a crippling mistake that you're building upon.
Right.
But then I guess you would have to be willing to say that you made a mistake. And not too many people are willing to do that.
Well, all right. What I wanted to say about what you had said about the pride thing,
Yeah.
like there was something on that show that show them I was telling you about,
Mm-hmm.
where, and I'm sure it was a lot. It was like that for a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily coming out of slavery, but during the civil rights time and shit. There was a family. It was a mom and a dad, and they had two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And the older daughter, she like they all had. You had to watch the show, but they all had like their own separate thing going on
Mm-hmm.
that they were dealing with. And the older daughter, her thing was like not like wanting to be black based on the way that she was treated because of it, and just I don't know, typical kind of like brainwashing or whatever.
It's like she was ashamed of her skin color.
Right, and she wanted to change that to the point where she like painted her skin.
I actually knew people like that. They didn't paint their skin, but I actually knew people like that. It's like through the story they were shown, you know, all the roots fairy tales and all the like the tales from the past and whatnot led them to be upset with their skin color.
Right, because it's not especially back then, it's not an easy task. It's not something that if your mind is willing to let you go there, then it's gonna go there. Like if you know what I'm saying, you don't want to be black, it's like then the way it was back then, it would definitely push you to that. But I just remember scenes like where the mama was trying to tell him like like be what I'm saying, don't be ashamed of who you are or because of that, like what I'm saying, be proud to be a black person. There's nothing wrong with that shit. So I feel like it's one thing to be like, what I was trying to get at was that is something that I'm sure there was a lot of black households that were preaching that to their kids and shit back in
Mm-hmm.
that time. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like that's not a bad thing. It is to be.
It's nice to have good self esteem. When does proud turn to pride though?
It's not this. It's not the same thing.
It might be, which is why it was a mistake. Isn't that one of the seven deadly sins? And I'm not even trying to like toss it into Christianity, because it's like it doesn't
That
even
can't, that can't be a that can't be a mistake though.
it doesn't even what is not a mistake.
To be proud of who you are, like that's not. I don't think that that's pride. That's like that's the way you should be. Not to a
That's
fault,
Yeah,
but you
that's
have
what I
to at
meant.
least.
That's why I asked you, when does proud turn to pride? I'm treating them as two different things. Because it's good to have some self-esteem on you. But when does it become too much?
I guess it depends on what's associated with it. Because what you were saying earlier about being proud to be a black man, and you was like, but like, what are you doing as a black man? You know what I'm saying? What if you doing good? What if you're existing? But what I'm getting at is people that it was like I said, it was probably preached in households back then, and that's what's carrying over. And whether it don't, I mean, that message still is the same, but it, you know what I'm saying, it don't dictate exactly what you do with your life. Like being a black person, I mean, being a black person to me, I'm not saying like everything that I do is about being a black person, but everything that I do, I'm a black person while doing it.
I was about to ask, is like, what does it mean to be black? Because we have transracial people out here. What does it actually mean to be black?
I'm not even barking up that tree. That's not what I'm saying. But it's it's a thing to be proud of and accept that you are a black person, and then everything else, like everything past that, is what you're doing, which it shouldn't be looked at like that, but you are a black person while doing it. So I guess there's a chance that it is turned into a stereotype or something like that.
Do you think instead of seeking to be proud, which could turn into pride, do you think that really what they were trying to say is that you should find peace to not let it hinder you?
You shouldn't be having to find. I don't know. I don't think you should be trying to find peace with just being you.
Well, with being black, I mean.
I mean, if you're a black person, then yeah, then that's a part of you.
Right. It's like it's a part of who you are. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. You should try to find peace with it so it doesn't get in the way of what it is that you're doing.
I don't just saying finding peace with it. Kind of, it sounds like it's a fucking problem.
I'm only talking about the people that registered it as a problem. You brought up that some people, it's like I knew people like that, but you were telling me about a character in a show. I knew people like that who, like, through the stories they were told and like seeing how seeing how black people were treated in the past in America, they started to dislike their skin color. They started to dislike the color of their skin. And it's like, no, it's like, don't feel ashamed. Don't feel ashamed of it. Fine. It's like, you should be able to find peace with the situation, come to grips with it. It's like, okay. It's like, so that's where I came from.
So being proud about it is just the next step. Finding peace with it is like, all right, I'm cool with it. Being proud about it is like, I'm happy to be.
There's the extreme on the left, there's the middle, and there's the extreme on the right. So there's two extremes. One extreme is, I hate my skin color. I don't like my skin color. The other extreme would be, I'm gigaton prideful. I'm proud of it. But there's that middle ground right there, where it's like, yeah, I am who I am, and I look how I am who I am, and it's like, this skin color is my skin color. And on top of that, the color of a man's skin should not matter anyway. So I'm gonna keep it moving. It's like, you have to find, that's where the peace lies. It's as much as there are negative extremes, there's such a thing as a positive extreme. And I think we're seeing the consequence of that, because people keep trying to pour positivity into everything, and they're pushing things way too far.
These white motherfuckers are happy to be white most of the time, if they care about that type of shit. So what's wrong with a black person being happy to be black?
There's a difference between being happy to be black and pride, being prideful in your actions. And that's why I brought up the seven deadly sins. It's like, they're the 7 deadly sins for a reason. It's not even connected to Christianity. It actually comes from, like, what the fuck was it? One of the ancient civilizations was talking about the shit. Before I think Christianity might have even been a thing. I don't know. I had to double check on that. But it doesn't guarantee you a place in hell. This isn't connected to Christianity. It guarantees you hell on earth. They were telling you that these were things to avoid, because when you cling to them too hard, you end up with problems. And that was one of them. So you can't try and take one of them and put a positive flip on it. No, you weren't supposed to cling to that.
Well, what is taking it too far? Or what is that?
Well, it becomes a bit more complicated because you have to look at what it is that black people decided to submit. What black Americans have decided to submit as the answers as what is black American culture? What is our culture? It's like, what are the things that we claim as our culture? Because whatever it is that we chose to claim, you sprinkle pride on it for all these proud black people. And they cling to it even harder because they're prideful. So if anything that we chose to submit into our own community as part of black American culture, if any of that was a mistake, we're still going to cling to it with pride anyway.
Wait, say that again?
I said, if anything that we as black Americans decided to submit into our community as part of black American culture, if anything that we decided to make part of our culture is objectively a mistake, we're still going to cling to it with that pride. It's harder for you to register a mistake if you're too prideful. It's like, how the hell are you proud to be a black person when we're literally 50% of violent crimes in America, most of which is against our own people? How are you proud to be a black person when we're the floor? Do you see how people can look at us like we're crazy?
Well, what would you say they should do instead of that? Be fucking sad about it?
No, because people are already playing victim enough as it is.
Well, what else is there to do, bro?
I mean, it comes back to what I was saying. All those people that tried to give like positive solutions, how we can better ourselves, this, that, and the third, how we can actually like rise up. I was using rappers as an example. The J. Coles, the Kendricks, the Nas's, Jay Electronicas, the Commons, the Outcasts, all of those people. Is like their messages were heard, received, and failed, because even though part of the solution was in the messages that they were giving in their music, the onus is on the person hearing it to recognize that, oh, they're trying to get me to correct a mistake. And they would have to recognize that it's a mistake and then put the solution into practice in order to reprogram themselves or readjust themselves to be better and to do better. But how many people are actually going to see the shit as a mistake if they're already prideful in all their fucking actions?
Honestly, bro, we can't necessarily be mad at them.
Mad at who?
Given the people that don't understand that shit.
I'm not mad. But I'm worried because if we keep clinging to these mistakes, that shit is going to destroy us. And then when they look back at the black Americans in history so many years from now, it'll just be a sad story of, well, they just couldn't get up.
And that made me scared.
And I don't want that.
Damn.